Shaun, how are we, mate?
Shaun, great start to the league season.
Yeah, it's been a great start, hasn't it? Now, look, I think I know what you're calling me about. Merseyside Derby coming up against Everton at Anfield. Look, don't worry, we're in absolutely perfect form going into this one. Still got our best 11 available. I'm sure we'll be fine. Just you worry about making sure that we are all good to go on deadline day so I can make some signings, okay?
Okay, but things will change if you lose to Everton.
Don't worry, we are not going to lose to Everton, especially with Frank Lampard in charge. Jeebus.
Do not stuff this up.
Mate, all under control. I'll talk to you deadline day. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 4 of Quadruple or Nothing here on Shaun Does FM. I hope you are doing well and coming up to date. It is quite a big episode as you can see on screen. We are about to take part in the group stage draw for the Champions League. Off the back of that, a bit of a domestic recap before we take on Everton at Anfield in the Merseyside Derby. And off the back of that, in a game against Southampton, we are going to take part in deadline day where we do want to make a few signings as well as get rid of some players here at Liverpool. So if you are looking forward to today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But yesterday we got things underway in the Premier League with a game at the Emirates against Arsenal. If you missed that episode, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. That was a great win by a scoreline of 5 goals to 1. We'll give you guys a bit of an update shortly on how we have gone since then. One thing to note, in today's episode, some of this episode I did play off camera, and before I do a stream tonight, because I'm filming this before my Monday night stream, I have updated some of the graphic packs and things, as well as the skins. So it's going to be a little bit jumpy in today's episode in terms of what things do look like on camera for the different segments, but from tomorrow, it should look all nice and polished, like it does when the regular Football Manager game comes out. Usually, I don't have any issues with graphic packs in the beta, and with it being a public holiday here in New Zealand today, I had a bit of time to get those things set up. But to start off today, it is the group stage draw for the Champions League. I've set up the game audio because we want to hear that Champions League anthem, and as soon as we hit this, hopefully that is going to be the case. Oh, and it's beautiful, isn't it? I've actually got my headphones in, so I couldn't hear it that time, but trust me, that's very nice. Just a nice little audio blurb, the Champions League anthem at the start of this group stage draw, which we are, of course, going to take part in. Zinedine Zidane is in charge of it, and as you can see, there is pot 1, Bayern Munich, Manchester City, Real Madrid, PSG, Ajax, Porto, Eintracht Frankfurt, and AC Milan. And thankfully my face cam is just out of the way enough so you can see all that stuff. Just to do a double take, so we'll get through this first pot fairly quickly because we are in pot 2, and you guys can keep an eye out on how things do work in the Champions League draw, which has been updated, of course, for FM23. PSG go into Group A. Group B, it is Porto. Group C, we have Real Madrid, of course, the defending champions, the team Liverpool lost to in last year's final. Group D, AC Milan. Group E, Eintracht Frankfurt, the Europa League champions. Group F, it is Ajax. Group G, we have Bayern Munich. And Group H, it is Manchester City. And of course, we cannot get Manchester City because you cannot have 2 English teams in the same group in the Champions League. And now pot 2. This is the pot that we're in alongside Chelsea, Barcelona, Juventus, Atletico Madrid, Sevilla, RB Leipzig, and Tottenham. And first out of the hat, Chelsea will go alongside PSG, so that's a little bit video gamey. Usually Chelsea in real life get quite nice draws in the Champions League. This time looks like it will be quite a tough one for them. Group B, Porto. This would be one of the groups I wouldn't mind getting, truth be told, and we get it. So that is a good start to the Champions League group stage draw. We get drawn alongside Porto, a team I feel like we should be beating both times. Group C, Real Madrid are joined by Leipzig. Group D, AC Milan joined by Atletico Madrid. Group E, it will be Eintracht Frankfurt and Tottenham. So that is matching the real-life Champions League group at the moment. Group F, Ajax get joined by Sevilla. Group G is going to be Bayern Munich and Barcelona. And that means in Group H, Manchester City are going to have to deal With Juventus down to pot 3, you will note that the teams with a red dot next to their name cannot get drawn into that group, so a nice easy way to identify now which teams cannot be part of a certain group when this draw does take place. But Group A, that is going to be Napoli, who join Chelsea and PSG. In that group, Group B, we can get one of Dortmund, Shakhtar, Salzburg, or Bayer Leverkusen, Inter, Benfica, and Sporting, all out of the running. And the team that we get is Borussia Dortmund. So that could be an interesting matchup when we do travel to the Yellow Wall to take on those guys. But so far, still think that's a group we should be able to get out of. Group C is Shakhtar, who will have a tough time there alongside Real Madrid and RB Leipzig. Group D, Sporting go into that one. Group E, it is RB Salzburg. Group F, and that is Benfica joining Ajax and Sevilla. Group G is Bayern, Barca, and Inter. So that is looking like quite a strong group at the moment. And Group H, of course, Bayer Leverkusen will join Man City and Juventus. And down to the bottom pot, Rangers, Dynamo Zagreb, Marseille, Olympiacos, Club Brugge, Celtic, Ferenc Varosi, who, to be fair, I have no idea about that club, and Trabzonspor. Out of Turkey, Celtic are in a pretty tough-looking group there alongside PSG, Chelsea, and Napoli. That's another one of the potential groups of death. Group B, we cannot get Rangers, who, of course, is the team in real life who Liverpool have got in their group, and we are going to get Ferenc Varosi, so I need to do a bit of research on those guys. They are, though, from Hungary, so definitely a team we should be getting the wood over, and I think this looks like a group we can definitely get out of, hopefully, without too many issues. Group C, and those 3 teams get joined by Olympiacos. Group D, and those 3 teams there are joined by Trabzonspor. Group E is rounded out by Dynamo Zagreb. Group F is finished off by Marseille. Group G, and we have Club Brugge finishing that one off, so it does actually look like quite a strong group, that one. And Group H is Rangers, who go in there alongside Man City, Juventus, and Bayer Leverkusen. But that is what the new look Champions League group stage draw does look like in FM23, and obviously it's the same for the Europa League and the Conference League as well. Very, very nice on the eye and also on the ear with that Champions League anthem at the start of it. But that is what our Champions League group does look like. As I said, I'd be a bit disappointed if we didn't get out of it. I'd be very disappointed if we didn't get out of it. But I do think that is a group we can get through in top spot, hopefully, and get first seed for the first knockout round. But we'll come back shortly and show you guys the highlights from the games that we have played since yesterday's episode. And here are the highlights from the 2 games that we have played since yesterday's episode. First off, we did take on Brighton, and we got off to a decent start in this one. About 20 minutes in, we did open the scoring. Fabinho here, long ball over the top for Mohamed Salah, and he just sneaks that past the goalkeeper at the near post. He was onside, and we did take a 1-0 lead, and only a few minutes later, we did double our lead and grabbed a cushion goal. Mo Salah here down the right-hand side puts the ball on the edge of the box, and Thiago rockets that into the top right corner with a volley. That is going to be up there for a goal of the season contender. Early on in the second half, they did get a goal back here. Brighton March just puts that one almost through Alisson, but in the end, nothing really much happened apart from that in the second half, and we did pick up a 2-1 win to back up that 5-1 win at the Emirates against Arsenal. And off the back of that, it was a trip to St James's Park to take on a Newcastle team who, despite being quite high on the expected points table, are down in the relegation zone. And yet again, we got off to a decent start here. On the 20-minute mark, Mo Salah, ball over the top. Luis Diaz controls that nicely. Nick Pope just a little bit wrong-footed there, and we put it past him to grab a 1-0 lead, albeit early on in the second half, it was Newcastle who did grab a goal back. St Maximin put that one in for Almiron. Alisson Becker, I thought, probably should have kept that out, getting a hand to it, but it did make it 1-1, albeit not too long off the back of that. A corner, Joel Matip, lovely little flick on there for Fabinho to put that in the bottom right corner, and then with about 20 minutes left, Newcastle there trying to play out from the back, just a little bit sloppy on the ball, and Firmino sets up Luis Diaz, and that was the result, 3-1, and that does mean that early stages, we have started the season with 3 wins from 3 and 9 points from 9, and overall pretty comprehensive performances in all of those games as well. As you would have seen, the stats were heavily in our favour in all of those games, even that Arsenal one yesterday, albeit, as I mentioned in that game, we did, of course, have the advantage of playing against 10 men for most of the second half. So what that means for the Premier League table going into today's episode, we are the only unbeaten team going into this 4th match week, our game in it anyway, and have the chance here to grab a 3-point gap on Southampton, as well as potentially teams like Tottenham, Leeds, Leicester, and Manchester United. So already we do have the chance here to pinch a little bit of a break at the top of the Premier League table in terms of Manchester City, who I think it's fair to say are going to be our biggest danger in the Premier League this season. They've had a little bit of a rocky start. They did get off to a good start, beating Wolves 3-0 in their first game. But off the back of that, a 1-1 draw against Brighton, as well as a 2-1 loss at home against Arsenal. Of course, the Arsenal team we bet quite comprehensively in yesterday's episode. So already a good chance for us here to grab a decent break on Manchester City and try and make sure that they are playing catch up on us here with the Premier League this season. In today's episode, it is a Merseyside Derby. We take on an Everton team who, if they do win this game, could also catch us up on 9 points, currently just outside of that European zone. Frank Lampard in charge. And if we go over and have a look at their last known lineup, you can see they've got some decent players, the likes of Rondon up front. They've got Idrissa Gueye in the midfield, but overall, this is a team we definitely should be beating with the quality that we have at Liverpool compared to what they do have there at Everton. Merseyside Derby, so a lot of pressure on us for this game from both the board and the supporters. They are expecting a win, albeit if we don't get a win, as long as we do finish above them on the Premier League table, I think that is going to be the main thing that they are concerned about, but definitely a game that we should be winning, and hopefully we can keep our good start to the Premier League season up and running here, and we're putting out exactly the same team as we did against Arsenal in yesterday's episode. So we'll come back shortly and get into this game in today's episode from Anfield, the Merseyside Derby, as we take on Everton. And here are the team sheets for this Merseyside Derby. As I mentioned before, we go into this one exactly the same lineup as we did put out yesterday against Arsenal, and also in quite good form since that Community Shield loss against Manchester City. Everton a little bit changed from what we did see before, a little bit stronger, but still looks like a team that we should be beating, and hopefully we can grab a gap here on top of the Premier League table. And just shy of 15 minutes into this one, our first highlight here is a throw-in to Everton. Seamus Coleman does find Gordon, but a bit of a loose first touch there, and Luis Diaz does get possession back for us. That, of course, is something that we have seen quite a bit now in this year's match engine, something which does happen a bit more than in previous years. And we get the ball out now to Trent Alexander-Arnold, who has picked up an early yellow card. So that is something we might need to keep an eye out on throughout this game, especially if things do get feisty in this derby. But that's a lovely ball there from Trent Darwin-Núñez with the first time finish into the bottom right corner. I think he was onside there because that ball looked absolutely lovely from Trent, and hopefully VAR does award the goal, and indeed he does. That was a lovely pass there from Trent after he put this ball back in there for Fabinho. Naby Keita puts us out to Trent. It's a first time ball in the mixer, and Darwin-Núñez gets in behind, puts that away bottom right corner, and we grab an early 1-0 lead here at Anfield. And very shortly off the back of that opening goal, we are back down Everton's end here with a throw-in, and Robertson finds the goal scorer in Darwin-Núñez. Now Luis Diaz from a tight angle tries to beat the goalkeeper at his near post, but a decent save there from tiny arms Jordan Pickford, and that keeps it at 1-0 just shy of the 20-minute mark. And that is it for the first half in this Merseyside derby. Not too many interesting highlights, and we are well on top of Everton here. Hopefully we can grab a cushion goal at some stage in the second half, but so far things are going well thanks to that strike from Darwin-Núñez off the back of that nice ball into the box from Trent Alexander-Arnold, albeit we are going to make a few substitutions here at halftime. Naby Keita, box-to-box midfielder, has picked up a yellow card. Jordan Henderson, a good replacement for him, and also Thiago with a potential pulled hamstring very, very late in that first half, down to a red heart. Definitely a player we need to be taking off. So Keita will come off for Henderson, and Harvey Elliott at the moment looks like our best Mazzala option on the bench, and that will be how we get the second half underway with a 1-0 lead. And just entering the last 15 minutes of this one, no highlights so far in the second half, but now Andy Robertson is down to a red heart, so Kostas Tsimikas will come on for him. Virgil van Dijk also on a yellow card, but he is a key player, so we'll leave him on for now and hopefully hold on to this 1-0 lead here in these last 10 minutes or so. And just inside the last 10 minutes, it was Darwin-Núñez there in possession, but he did get the ball pinched off him in legal fashion despite going down, and now it is Everton here who try and get him behind. That looks like a little bit of a dodgy challenge there though from Kostas Tsimikas, fresh on the field, and this does not look good. Kostas Tsimikas barely 5 minutes off of the bench, and he gets a red card, so that does mean we are going to have to rejig things here at the back. Virgil van Dijk, of course, is on a yellow card, so what I think we're going to do here is bring on Joe Gomez for him, and that will mean that we can put Fabinho at centre-back and Joe Gomez at left-back for these last 8 minutes and play without a halfback. We'll also shuffle our midfield around just a little bit so we don't have a Mazzala on attack, and also we'll probably put Hendo onto a more defensive type of midfielder, because now Everton are going to have a one-man advantage for these last 8 minutes, but hopefully we can still hold on here and close out this Merseyside Derby, even though we are going down to 10 men. And a few minutes off the back of that red card, we do have a corner here, so a good chance for us to wrap up this game. It's an absolute mess. Darwin Núñez puts that in the back of the net. In fact, it's Doucouré with an own goal, and that will seal it, despite the fact that just recently we did go down to 10 men. We did put Henderson onto a deep line playmaker on defend, and it was Harvey Elliott on a Mazzala on support instead of attack. It does look like Darwin puts that ball over the net from that angle, but apparently Doucouré did score an own goal, and with that in mind, we are going to make our last substitution here. We'll take Trent off on a yellow card just to play things safe and make sure we don't go down to 9 men. Ibrahima Konate can come on for him, and of course Fabinho can play right back, so we'll do that for these last few minutes and hopefully see out this one with 10 men, but a 2-0 lead here against Everton in the Merseyside Derby. And just entering the last few minutes of injury time in this one, we get a very late highlight, but it does look like we are going to win this game despite playing with 10 men for around about the last 10 minutes. Costa Tsimikas there, putting us in a little bit of trouble, but thankfully we have been good enough to get a goal from a corner right off the back of that. Good interception there from Luis Diaz, tries a long-range shot, but Jordan Pickford, his arms are just big enough to hold on to that one. And in the end, it's a pretty good win, just that little scare there with Costa Tsimikas picking up a red card. Also, Thiago going off at halftime. That is something we will just have a quick look at and see how long he might be out for, because that could be quite interesting, and seeing what we could potentially do in the transfer window. It just might make sure that we definitely get a midfielder, which, to be fair, has always been the plan, but in the end, yet again, quite a dominant performance there. Everton not getting a single shot off on target, and we pick up 3 points, even though, as I said, we did go down to 10 men for the last few minutes of that one. And back in the inbox off the back of that, just a quick update on this potential injury to Thiago. Of course, also Tsimikas banned for 1 match, and it's a pulled hamstring. He is out for 2 to 3 weeks, and that is an interesting time for an injury, just as we start to get some midweek games as well as weekend games. So that's going to make things a bit interesting, and probably does mean that we need some of these players who are injured at the moment to come back shortly. As you can see, Diogo Jota not far away, neither is Kelleher, but still players like Oxlade-Chamberlain and Curtis Jones, who are out-and-out midfielders, who we are missing. That does mean that some players might have to play quite a bit of football in the midfield over the next few weeks, but that does mean we are going to stay on top of the Premier League table. For now, off the back of this, we play Southampton. We'll come back shortly with a recap from that game before we get into deadline day, and we will make some moves. And we are back, about to get stuck into deadline day, but before then, we did play a game against Southampton in the Premier League. This was actually quite an even game, probably the most even stats-wise, since we did play Manchester City in the Community Shield, and it was decided by a penalty just past the hour mark. Mo Salah, he goes down the middle, of the goalkeeper goes to his left, and that was the deciding factor. Thankfully, that penalty was in our favour, because apart from that, probably a game that we should have won based on the XG, albeit that was quite heavily boosted up by that penalty, so probably not actually the case, but very, very even game apart from that. And we do escape that one with a 1-0 win, so that does mean we are going to stay on top of the Premier League table going into transfer deadline day. Now 5 points clear of Manchester United. Yet again, Manchester City have dropped points. They have only won 2 of their games so far against Fulham and Wolves, and they have been held to draws now by both Aston Villa and Brighton. So a bit of a rough start there for Manchester City at the moment. Manchester United are the team hot on our heels, but even then, after 5 games played, a 5-point gap on top of the Premier League table is quite a handy one to have. But it is time for us to get stuck in to deadline day. Of course, we are going to take part in this. As I said a few episodes ago, we didn't actually do deadline day much on FM23, so quite excited to get back into this feature. As you can see, the rumours out there are that we are going to go for SMS, Upamecano and Skriniar. And in terms of the outs, I can see Kelleher's name in there. That would be interesting. It would have to be a pretty good offer to get him off of our books. But I think the main position that we are going to focus on here, as I've said over the past few episodes, is going to be that box-to-box midfielder. If we can, we will go after Jude Bellingham. But if we can't afford that, I think the next best option is going to be SMS, Jamal Musiala. We did just ask his agent about what he would want, just in case Jude or SMS are not options, but unfortunately these days he is no longer interested in coming to Liverpool off the back of signing a contract extension with Bayern Munich. We are going to offer out some players to clubs. Nathan Phillips is one of the players we might get rid of. I've got a player lined up from Peterborough who is homegrown nation if we are able to get rid of him. Also, of course, Naby Keita, hopefully for £40 million, we can get Jude Bellingham and trigger that release clause. And also Adrian, I do think there's potentially some better third choice goalkeepers out there for a similar price to what we could get for him. We'll hopefully get $2 million for the third choice goalkeeper, especially now that Alisson is back. We can afford to try and get rid of him. And we'll see what happens here on deadline day as we have 15 hours left. And going for 1 hour now, 14 hours left. And as you can see, some bids have come in for Adrian. And I do think we are going to accept that one from Leicester City for £2 million. Al Ain do want him for 1.6, but for now, we are definitely going to accept that offer of £2 million for Leicester City, just a little bit over his transfer value. So we are going to go after a third choice goalkeeper. We're going to try and see here if we can actually get Al Ain to potentially go up to something like £2.5 million. Then we will accept that offer and reject the Leicester one and cancel that deal, but they do not want to go that high. So it does look like Adrian is going to Leicester City for £2 million. And in terms of a replacement for Adrian, I did have some young goalkeepers on my shortlist who could have been interesting options, but unfortunately none of them are interested in coming to Liverpool. So this leaves Samir Handanovic as the replacement for Adrian. He is 38 years old, but will cost a similar price and is definitely a better goalkeeper than Adrian. Certainly someone we can call upon should we get an injury or need to rest Alisson Becker, and of course until Kelleher does come back from his injury as well. I think, despite the age being not really a Liverpool signing, this does look like a decent bit of business here just to make sure we do have some decent quality and depth in that goalkeeping position. So Samir Handanovic, we are going to try and sign here from Inter Milan, as you can see, valued somewhere between 550,000 and 6.4 million. So we'll try and see exactly where that figure does sit. And as you can see, not helped too much there. It goes now between £500,000 and £6.2 million. So we will go on with an initial bid of 525,000. But as you can see, Inter Milan definitely want closer to the £6 million mark for him. We'll try and drop this down somewhere around the £2 million mark up front. And if we need to, we can add on future installments, of course. With this being a one-season save, we don't need to worry too much about the financial impact of those future installments in these transfers. They now want 2.3 million with about an extra 2 million in add-on. So what we're going to do here is give them an extra 1 million after 50 appearances, because he shouldn't do that as a third choice goalkeeper, and offer 2 million, but that has been rejected. So we'll just bump this up yet again around about the 1.5 million pound mark. They have rejected that one, so this might be a bit of an ongoing transfer. We'll try and do it. 2 million up front and 2 million in future installments. But the guy we are going after is Handanovic to replace Adrian. And still 14 hours left. And as you can see, finally someone have come in for Naby Keita. It is Tottenham. Overall, the deal is worth £40 million. Also going up a little bit further. We did win Premier League Manager of the Month, as you would expect, with those 5 wins from 5 in the month of August. So that is a good start there to our time in charge at Liverpool. But going back down, first up, we'll deal with this one with Handanovic yet again into Milan. We have rejected that previous offer, so we'll just try and play around with this a little bit more and try and get a deal over the line. And yet again, we are just butting heads a little bit here in terms of finalising terms of this deal. So we're going to go in with an offer of 3 million up front with 1.5 after 50 league appearances. As I said, something as a third choice goalkeeper we shouldn't have to worry about too much. But the big news here at this time in the inbox is a bid for Naby Keita, 28 million up front, which is a little bit disappointing, but I don't think any other teams are interested in him. And we do want to upgrade in that box-to-box midfield role. So we are going to accept that offer. We might try and shop him out for 40 million up front and see if someone else might be interested in paying that. But that should give us some money to hopefully get in a box-to-box midfielder. We might even shop him out for 37.5 million actually, and see if a club is willing to pay more up front. So we get the money right now to try and spend on Jude Bellingham. But Naby Keita is going to be leaving Liverpool. It just depends how much will be left in the transfer budget. Yet again, Inter Milan have rejected that bid for Handanovic. We do need to sort this out pretty soon. Otherwise, we might be blowing our chances here of getting in a third choice goalkeeper to replace Adrian. And this time we'll go in with 3.3 million up front and 1 million in some future installments and see if that will be the deal that gets him over the line to join us here at Liverpool. And unfortunately, it's been rejected yet again, but they are still coming back to us. There's definitely some room here. I do think they aren't against selling Samir Handanovic, but we do need to go about this just a little bit differently, maybe offer a little bit more money in the future here for the 38-year-old goalkeeper. And there it is, 3.3 million up front with 2 million in future installments. So it does look like we are going to get Handanovic here as a third choice goalkeeper in behind both Kelleher and, of course, Alisson Becker. He might actually be a little bit better than Kelleher, so we'll just finalise the terms of this contract and get this one over the line. And that was not very difficult at all. £85,000 a week here for the 38-year-old, very good goalkeeper, of course, back in his heyday in Serie A for Inter Milan. Should do a good job for us when we do need him to here at Liverpool. As you can see, 3-star current ability and potential, so that would make him a little bit better than Kelleher, so he could actually work his way up to being the backup for this season anyway, which might not be the worst thing, of course, with Kelleher recovering from an injury. But it does look like Samir Handanovic is going to join us here at Liverpool on deadline day. And just confirming that indeed Adrian is going to leave us for £2 million, leaving for Leicester City. He joins them now, and we'll tell him that we are sad to see him leave, even though we did kind of push him out the club. Probably clicked the wrong button here, I've ticked him off a little bit, but Adrian has gone to Leicester City. Hopefully we can get Handanovic to come in and replace him. Here you can see some agent offers. SMS is on that list for £66 million. And with the money that we're getting for Naby Keita, that might be the most sensible option. Unfortunately, it might be a little bit too expensive, the Jude Bellingham deal, but Naby Keita is going to go to Tottenham Hotspur. We do get 20 odd million added to our transfer budget. We will just adjust that so we can play around with that a little bit to see just how much money we might have to try and sign a new first choice box-to-box midfielder. But Naby Keita is going to go to Tottenham for an overall fee of 40 million, but we only see 23 million of that up front, and that will boost our transfer budget up to around about 80 million pounds, which is just 6 million shy of the fee that Jude Bellingham does have set for his release clause. And as that Keita deal does get confirmed, as you can see a bit further up, there is our first signing on deadline day. Samir Handanovic does join us for 3.3 million up front, rising to 5.25 million as a new backup goalkeeper. But now it's time for us to try and sign a replacement for Naby Keita. First things first, we're going to go after the player who we really want, and that is Jude Bellingham. Of course, he would be homegrown nation as well, so that would be quite useful. We are going to go in with 75 million up front, and what we're going to have to do here is add in some future installments and also quite a few other perks, I think, to try and get this deal over the line, because unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to get enough money in our bank account to trigger that release clause. And as you can see, it's going to be a little bit tough here. It's going to cost a lot more than his release clause would to get him off Dortmund here without being able to trigger that. The most we can go to with the money coming out for Handanovic, I believe, would be 78 million up front, and from there, we are going to have to add in some future incentives for Borussia Dortmund. So we'll try that, and while we are on the box-to-box midfield subject, of course, we do need to put a bit in, I think, for SMS. This one, a little bit more clear-cut, I think, as Lazio do want around about the 66 million pound mark. We'll try and get them to drop to 60 million pounds first off, but as you can see, they then want quite a few extra add-ons there, which probably would get triggered. I think just paying something closer to 66 million pounds would be a little bit easier, and the same again applies to that per league appearance deal. So we might just bump this up to slightly shy of 66, 65 million, and indeed that has been accepted. So two options on the table there for a box-to-box midfielder, Jude Bellingham for quite a bit of money, or SMS. The SMS offer has been accepted. As you can see, we have signed Samir Handanovic, 3-star current ability and potential very good option there. If, as I said, Becker does get injured this upcoming season, we will just sort him out for registration, as the SMS offer has been accepted. But as you can see, the board are looking to block the Bellingham deal because it's a little bit too much in terms of an overall fee, 92 million overall. We will talk to the board, John Henry. Let's see if we can sweet talk him here and try and get us to pay a little bit more in future incentives for a player who I think in the long term would be a better signing for Liverpool. But it looks like it might not work out, but eventually we talk him around. So that gives us a little bit more freedom here to potentially push on and try and sign Jude Bellingham. We will put the offer in for SMS as well, but what we are going to do is try and see if we can go a little bit further in future incentives and get Jude Bellingham over the line. But in terms of the potential contract for SMS, we have agreed to £115,000 a week, which is right at the top end of that estimated wage, and he might be joining us, albeit, as I said, we do still have the potential now to sign Jude Bellingham. As we go over now to the negotiation screen with Jude Bellingham, we do have just 78 million up front, but now we can play around a little bit with these other fees, which we could include in the contract. Will bump up that percentage of profit from next sale. As I said earlier, obviously, with this being just a one-season save, we don't need to worry too much about the future implications of these types of offers. We'll see if this offer here, 78 million plus 22 and 50% of profit from next sale, can get Jude Bellingham over the line. Unfortunately, that is not the case. We might, though, still be able to get this one over the line. We'll bump it up to 25 million in future installments, and also tuck in a bonus after 50 league appearances, because he won't be making that this season, an extra 2.5 million pounds, and also after 20 international appearances, another 2.5 million pounds, and also minimum league goals, another 2.5 million pounds in C. If that helps get this over the line, and it does, it might be Hey Jude here at Liverpool after all, because we have agreed terms with him to come here from Borussia Dortmund. It will be an almighty transfer fee with all those add-ons included, but we have a chance here to sign Jude Bellingham and get him to join us here at Liverpool. We'll just get into the contract details. He wants to be an important player. I think that is fair enough, especially with the potential he does have. We'll just get rid of that preferred ball-winning midfielder role, because we are going to use him as a box-to-box. We'll try and talk him down in terms of his wage, but boost up the signing fee as well as the agent fee. Also give him a bonus here for things like Champions League win, Premier League win, and see if that helps out in terms of getting him to agree to a slightly lower wage, £100,000 a week. He wants 130. We'll just go down a little bit closer to that estimated wage. He does want 120,000. Having a look at how much we do have spare, we do actually have quite a bit spare in 166,000. We'll bump it down to 110 and just boost the signing on fee and the agent fee, and also just bump up a little bit this winning the Premier League and Champions League bonus. And we have agreed terms with Jude Bellingham. It looks like it's going to be Hey Jude instead of Hey SMS. So because of that, I think what we're going to do is cancel this deal for SMS, even though it makes a lot more sense financially. We want to use one of the best players in the game, especially in terms of potential. So we are going to cancel the deal for SMS, because I believe we are going to get Jude Bellingham over the line here with 8 hours to go. And going forward a further hour, indeed, Jude Bellingham is set to sign for Liverpool. It's taken a fair while. We had to wait till deadline day, but we have got our man at transfer, which could rise up to £111 million. That is the price of course, not being able to trigger his release clause, but still, we got our man. 80 million coming out up front from our £78 million transfer budget. Hopefully, that does still mean we have a little bit of wage to work with here at Liverpool, but Jude Bellingham has joined us from Borussia Dortmund for an almighty fee, but we have got our man. It is Hey Jude at Liverpool. And that was it for us on deadline day. And then the other player that we were trying to sell, Nathan Phillips, in the end, absolutely no interest. We didn't need to worry about doing anything else. Just the 2 deals done there on deadline day. We got rid of Naby Keita and, of course, Adrian, and replaced them with Samir Handanovic and, of course, Jude Bellingham. Absolute whopping deal overall for him, but thankfully we don't have to worry about the implications of that, because he has now joined us here at Liverpool and is going to be our starting box-to-box midfielder. Hopefully he can perform a little bit better than Naby Keita and should have the room to improve greatly with lots of regular minutes in the first team. And of course, the benefit of signing someone like Jude Bellingham, it fits in with what the club and the supporters want. Signings under 23 years old, and also quite useful replacing Naby Keita with a homegrown nation player, of course, seeing as he did spend a bit of time at Birmingham prior to joining Borussia Dortmund. But that is a big signing, Jude Bellingham, and you'll see him in action hopefully in tomorrow's episode. But that will do it for today. Probably a bit of a long one, but we did have quite a bit to get through, but eventually picked up a win in the Merseyside Derby against Everton and got our man in Jude Bellingham, as well, of course, as switching out Adrian for Samir Handanovic. If you did enjoy today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. From here, we should be able to squeeze in 2 games per episode and get things back to how we usually did it back in the Husavik Heroes days on FM22. So going over to the schedule, our next couple of games don't look overly interesting. Our first Champions League game is against the Hungarian team, who, to be fair, we should be doing a number on. So from there, I think what we're going to do is come back for the 2 games off the back of that in tomorrow's episode, a trip to Old Trafford, and what does look like it could be a top of the Premier League clash there against Manchester United first, and off the back of that, we host Dortmund in our second game of the group stages of the Champions League. So we'll come back for that very interesting game, of course, having just signed Jude Bellingham off of Borussia Dortmund. So that's what's coming up in tomorrow's episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.